Sports Zone update.
Well, it's back to action tonight for the Brewers as they welcome in the Rockies for a weekend series at American Family Field. The crew comes in having won 6 of 7, has them sitting in second place, 3 games back of Chicago in the NL Central. Colorado, meanwhile, has been bad on a historic level so far. It's 18-63 on the year, 222 winning percentage, the lowest in the last 125 years in Major League Baseball. Tonight, the crew will send Jose Quintana to the mound. Comes in 5-2 on the year with a 2.98 ERA. He did not allow a run over 6 innings in his last outing against Minnesota. First pitch is coming up at 7:10. Meanwhile, Brendan Woodruff getting closer to potentially returning to Milwaukee. He's expected to make a rehab start this weekend for Nashville in Jacksonville. The return to Milwaukee could be coming in the next few weeks after that.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the NBA draft is in the books. Now all eyes turn toward free agency. Certainly the case with the Bucks, who have a bunch of free agents to deal with, including Brook Lopez, Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince. 2 players have options that they have to decide on, Bobby Portis and Kevin Porter. Those decisions must be made before June 29th. All of those decisions could impact what Giannis Antetokounmpo decides to do this offseason and potentially whether he asks for a trade or not. Meanwhile, the NBA Summer League will feature a couple former Badgers next month in Las Vegas. John Tonje going to play for Utah after getting taken in the second round last night, while Chucky Hepburn played his final season at Louisville, signed a 2-way deal with Toronto. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Hi, it's Mike Clemens outside of Fiserv Forum, downtown Milwaukee, where it's round 2 of the NBA draft tonight. Now, we were scheduled to come inside Fiserv Forum and monitor the draft, and at the end of the night, talk to Bucks GM John Horst. Now, of course, not only would he get questions about who they took or if they took somebody with the 47th pick overall, but, there'd be a lot of Giannis Antetokounmpo questions, right? How's he doing? Are you going to keep him next year at all? We got a notice about a half hour before they're going to open the doors that tonight's gathering is canceled. Go back to your offices, go back to your homes. We'll have a Zoom call for you with the Bucks assistant general manager, Milton Newton. He'll take your questions on what happened tonight with the Bucks. And that's it. No John Horst. That's different. Stay tuned.
With the 47th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Bogoljub Markovic from Uzetse, Serbia, and Serbia's Mega Basket.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's the shot and chaser of last night's round 2 of the NBA draft, or night 2 of the NBA draft. I was driving home from the studio last night, and I see that Mike Clemens is calling me. And while I occasionally talk to Mike after work hours, it's not like he calls me every day. I'm like, oh, this should be interesting. Let's see what Mike's up to. And honestly, the phone call and what he told me when I began the phone call basically sounded exactly like that. I'm down here in front of Fiserv Forum, and the Bucks have notified the media that tonight's media party and media availability has been canceled. I'm like, oh, it's kind of interesting. That's kind of weird. What could that mean? I mean, probably nothing, right? Like, probably nothing, but it's odd. And then Mike posted that video, and anytime Mike takes time to post video, it's like, okay, well, something's obviously worthwhile. So a couple people were kind of discussing that on Twitter. I saw a couple people in the Bucks media tweet about it. Like, kind of odd, reporters have been sent.
It's Mike Clemens outside of Fiserv Forum.
Correct. Mike Clemens outside Fiserv Forum. And Mike said, so I guess I'm just going to go he said, well, I'm down here. I guess I'm going to go out to eat, and I'll probably get better food than what they were going to serve. Classic media man, worried about the spread, jealous. But the draft went off without a hitch. They made their pick. John Horst didn't speak to the media, which is a little odd. And it doesn't really change my life one way or another. I don't think it really affects Bucks fans one way or another. Maybe John Horst had like a personal or family thing come up. It seems kind of weird that the general manager doesn't speak on behalf of their selection and their team on draft night. But whatever, the Bucks selected Bogoljub. Can I get this right? Bogoljub Markovic Let me see this one more time.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Bogoljub Markovic. You know who's really nailed it is Austin. I came into the studio this morning and Austin had that. He had that name on a string. Ebo and I were studying.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Bogoljub Markovic. As compared to Colin Cowherd, who was drafted on the first night. So that's the Bucs selection. That's where we will begin tonight. I have a couple of thoughts on that, but I'd really prefer to not talk about Bogey. One more time, little help.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Thank you. I'd prefer to not do a full 2 hours on Bogoljub Markovic. So your phone calls are welcome right here in the opening segment. If you're ready, I'll take them. 608-321-1670. You can comment on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, and the show streams on Twitter as well, at Wisco Grant. But I will give you a couple of thoughts. First and foremost, I was listening to the media avail, the full presser. We played it on Bill's show earlier today of the Bucs assistant general manager, Milt Newton, which I like. It's funny because with the Packers, I know Ed Policy. I know who's the guy who does their cap again. Maybe I don't know. It's on the tip of my tongue. Why can't I think of his name? My point was we know these names and these voices for other teams. Matt Arnold and his scouting staff. Who the heck does the contracts? Now I'm like making my own take look bad. But my point was, for the most part, we know the supporting staff, scouts, or we've known about Ed Policy for a while, even before he was set to take over Mark Murphy. I couldn't have told you. Milt Newton could have been in the studio yesterday, and I said, "Oh, he must have a client or a sponsor." I've never heard of Milton Newton in my life. So I was listening to his presser a little bit earlier today, and the first 60 seconds or so is the exact thing that you'd expect to hear from a general manager right after making a draft pick. So we're going to listen to about 60 seconds of this.
We always try to see if we can improve our draft, rankings, where we are in the draft, which we definitely try to do. He was a player that we had ranked higher, did not think that he was going to be there. And we were surprised when he was. So we were really ecstatic about that. A player that is really got nice size,
good
athletic,
size, very
can
athletic,
shoot the ball,
can shoot,
really good basketball IQ,
great basketball
feel
IQ
for the game,
great feel for the game.
As the round went on, we actually were crossing our fingers, but also trying to see if we could move up just in case that give ourselves a better opportunity to select him. And for the first time ever, no picks were sold. So we tried, but at the end of the day, we got him where we drafted. So we're pretty excited about that.
So if you were to play the general manager post-draft press conference drinking game, you would hit every single one. If you had a bingo card with all of the things that you'd expect to hear, you would hit every single one. Did you think about moving up or moving up and down? We asked around. We were looking to find value. We explored this. We explored that. We were open to every single possibility. Nothing was there for us, so we ended up sticking and picking where we were. But the guy that we wanted all along just happened to be there. How lucky were we, right? Drink, drink, drink. I mean, he can shoot, drink. He's got great size, drink, length, drink, great athleticism, drink, both basketball IQ and feel for the game, drink, drink. I mean, he just hit all of them. So that's exactly what you'd expect to hear from a general manager immediately following a draft pick. What you're never going to hear is, we really wanted to move up and we couldn't. And the guy we actually wanted went before because we were unable to move up. So we had to settle for this guy who's not as tall as we'd like, but I guess he's got a couple good traits and we feel like we could turn him into something, which, if you really gave some of these executives and these front office people, if you gave them a truth serum, they would probably tell you some of those things. It's just not possible for every pick all the time to work out just exactly like that. It's not possible. And yet, every general manager, we got the exact guy that we wanted. We couldn't believe he was still on the board. I mean, look at his size, look at his athleticism, his IQ and feel for the game, which are two separate things. I guess if you read scouting reports and you talk to basketball scouts, those are two separate things. How great. And this guy, Bogoljub Markovic. One more time, a little help, please.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Bogoljub. He looks like a Bogoljub. What an ugly, we're all God's creatures, of course. So we're all beautiful in our own way. But this guy he is quite literally beautiful in only his own way. What a honker. And a set of teeth. I mean, he's got braces for a reason. He's just, he looks like a Bogoljub Markovic. So that's who the Bucs ultimately select last night, right where they were picking. the exact guy that they wanted. We tried to jump up. We were unable to. And luckily he was still there. We crossed our fingers on him the whole night, which is classic general manager speak, or in this case, assistant general manager speak, immediately after making a selection. We don't know for sure whether they're going to stash him overseas for a year and then bring him over, or what they're going to do. Typically, and I listened to Justin Garcia and Frank Madden on Locked On Bucks this morning on my way in, and they kind of highlighted this, and I think I got a pretty good understanding of how the Bucks normally handle this. For the most part, they don't stash guys. I think they stashed that fella, what was it, Hugo Besson, the Frenchman? They stashed him, and then they never unstashed him because, to my knowledge, I don't know if he was ever over here, or if he was in Oshkosh. And with all due to the Fox Valley, he may as well have been in France because, gestures broadly, it's Oshkosh. So that's one player that I know for sure they stashed after a draft. But most of these guys, Thon Maker or Giannis, interestingly enough, they bring them right over, which makes sense, by the way, when you think about it. Like, why would you ever, as an NBA team, select a guy and then say, you know what, your development is actually, but keep doing what you're doing over there in Eastern Europe. Keep doing what you're doing over there in France. Keep it up, bud. We'll see you in a year. Like, no, you would have to have, I would think, the utmost confidence in your program and in your trainers and in your develop. Like, why? It makes no sense to me why a team would ever draft a guy who's playing basketball internationally and then say, you know what, you guys, the Frenchies over there or the Serbians, we trust you. Just you put another year in them, and then we'll call them over. Like, that would make no sense. You know what I mean? It would be like an NFL team drafting a college player and they say, you know what, actually just stay in college another year. It seems a little backwards. And some NBA teams might do it more often than not, but typically when foreign players are selected in the second round, most fans' initial reaction is, well, they'll probably stash them for a year. The Bucks traditionally have not done that. In fact, if they do that with this guy, I'll be a little confused, but an NBA guy could probably explain that to me. I just think that if I'm running the Milwaukee Bucks, I would want to have the utmost confidence in my trainers, in my program, in my nutritionists, in all that stuff. And if I didn't, then that needs to be addressed. Like, if I select a player in the second round, by the way, the exact guy that we wanted with all the size and the speed and the height and the basketball IQ and the feel for the game and all these things, I don't want to trust that to Serbian trainers and nutritionists. Nothing against Serbia. But I run the Milwaukee Bucks. I oversee the Milwaukee Bucks. I have built the Milwaukee Bucks as I see fit. If I've built the Milwaukee Bucks in a way that has led me to have more confidence in some Serbian coach or some Serbian trainers, or, Thon Maker, I don't know if he was Canada by means of Africa or something like that. Like, I want him in my building. So while I don't expect him to play probably really at all next year, which is a whole nother thing that we can talk about, Bucks fans, I don't really know why they would want to leave him in Europe. I'd want him on my team. So we'll see what the Bucks path is. And I guess here I have the cut. Mike sent it, so I might as well play it since we're on the topic. Milt Newton was asked if they plan to scout him or if they plan to bring him over right away. And let me see if I can find it. Of course, he was asked if they think he can contribute this year. And that just seems like a long shot. I'll play you that cut. The question is, do the Bucks plan to use Markovic this season, or will be a developmental player for the future?
We really don't know right now. We just know that he's going to be with us for Summer League. He could be with us. We could roster him next year or the year after, but we're going to work with his agent and try to figure out the best course of to proceed with him. But we're really excited to have him.
While we're listening to the Bucks assistant GM, again, this is Milt Newton. This is a good question. I don't know who asked it in the media presser last night. Why do you keep drafting 19-year-olds when you have Giannis and you're trying to win now?
Well, for one, I mean, we also look at upside. To have a player with that length who can do the things that he can do, those are all translatable things that you can do in the NBA. But like I said, going back to the fact that playing with grown men, playing in a physical league and being able to have some success in that, we think that is something that we can look at and think that, you know what, in a year, 2 years, he will be able to compete on the NBA level, if not sooner than later. But the potential is there and the upside is there that we just couldn't pass on.
So The upside, sure. I mean, I could have told you the answer to that question. Why do you keep drafting 19-year-olds? Because of the upside and because of the potential and the ceiling. I'm a little confused as to this portion of his answer, though.
And being able to have some success in that, we think that is something that we can look at and think that, you know what, in a year, 2 years, he will be able to compete on the NBA level.
I just, not exactly a ringing endorsement. We think that with another year or two, he might just be able to hack it in the NBA. Okay. So you're telling me in 2 years that maybe he'll be able to be rostered? I get that it's a second round pick. So, we should all keep that in mind. They didn't take this guy in the lottery. But that's the other thing. Okay, so this is my one frustration, not necessarily with the Bucks, but with Bucks fandom and the way that especially Bucks Twitter follows the Bucks and the way everyone reacted last night. So because the Bucks didn't have a first round pick and because they don't have loads and loads of money to spend this offseason, the onus or the potential for the Bucks to improve this team or to put this team in a better spot to show Giannis and to set Giannis up to succeed next year, forget proving to Giannis that you can win. Forget, even if Giannis is completely and totally pot committed and you don't have to worry about selling him on staying, which I don't think they do, don't you want to be the best possible team next year? Even if Giannis is coming back. Doesn't that mean that you want a player that can help Giannis now? That would just make good sense. So this second round pick was kind of the thing. Fair or unfair, the Bucks didn't have a first round pick. They don't really have much capability to make trades or to add new players. This second round pick and the second round of the draft was kind of it. And we also heard some rumors, for whatever they were worth, about whether or not maybe the Bucks could jump up into the first round. Right, Bucks fans, we had this night circled, and I saw all of you talking about it on the internet. Or they could do this, or they could do the, maybe they could package it. You could move up in this. I really like this guy. And this is, this is a big night. If they don't really pull anything here, like this is going to be it for the offseason. Like this is a big night. And then the Bucks make a selection who most people were like, ugh. And all Bucks fans went to, well, it's a second round pick. Who cares anyways? I was like, well, wait. I thought we were all intimately focused and concerned on what they were going to do. And because they didn't do one of the things that we were hoping that they would do, now we completely switch our tone and say, well, it's a second round pick. Who cares anyways? Well, I don't know. I thought there was some real importance being put on last night. And the fun part of this draft is a player like John Tonje, who's in his lower 20s, who's played a lot more basketball, who probably projects as a player who can come in and contribute on some level this year, not in 2 or 3 years. He went a couple picks later to the Utah Jazz. So isn't that going to be fun to follow this season? We can check over there, see what he's doing night to night. Kind of like what the Wolves did with Terrence Shannon Jr. last year. It's like, you could have had that guy. He's helping a contender. But you had to take the lottery pick. Sometimes I get you got to go for potential, especially in the second round. I just don't like the Bucks fans. I think are a little hypocritical on this. It's like, wow, there's big potential tonight for the Bucks. This is going to be important, and then they don't do the thing that you want. It's like, wow, it's just a second round. Who cares? So I thought we cared. We certainly cared an hour or two ago. 608-321-1670. Your phone calls next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
You know what? In a year, 2 years, he will be able to compete on the NBA level, if not sooner than later. But the potential is there and the upside is there that we just couldn't pass on.
One more time, that's Bucks assistant GM Milt Newton. John Horst not speaking last night, which is a little odd. Would have liked to hear for the guy. And also just as a matter of principle, I think a general manager should have to, make themselves available in certain instances. I think Brian Gutekunst has done a good job of that, for example. Before the draft, after the draft, at the combine, a big transaction like signing free agents or releasing Jair Alexander, speak at the beginning of training camp. That's good. Half a dozen times a year, 20 minutes a pop, not asking the world. I would have liked to hear from John Horst last night, and that's mostly general manager speak. I'm not going to nitpick every single word, but then again, it's sports talk radio, so we're going to nitpick every single word. When Giannis and the Bucks are in win now mode and the East is more open than ever next year. And it's like, well, in a year or two, we think he can really compete at the NBA level. So you think he's capable of playing in the NBA in 2 years? Okay. Maybe I'm a little biased because I wanted to see him pick John Tonje, but like last year, they go A.J. Johnson instead of Terrence Shannon Jr., who has more college experience, really high-level college player, and then he goes to the Wolves and he helps them. And A.J. Johnson helped them by, getting Chris Middleton out of town, I guess. 608-321-1670. It's a phones free, or a free phones Friday, not phones free. I would love for as many of you to call me tonight as possible because I don't want to do 2 hours on Bogoljub Markovic. By the way, Zach Heilprin coming up in 10 or 12 minutes. He's going to tell us about Squatfest. He was with Wisconsin football team earlier today, so that's coming up. But lots of time for your phone calls. Let's take one, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Evening, Grant. This
Tim.
is Tim Sparta. How
How's it
you
going?
doing?
I'm doing good. How about you? Why are you laughing at me?
Well, it's not you I'm laughing at. I'm just laughing at this entire situation. I could care less about the NBA. It sucks from top to bottom.
Hey.
But when you have this, but you really suck as a draft pick when your general manager.
Assistant general manager. Let's be correct with the titles.
No. I mean, when your general manager can't come on and talk about what is your only draft pick that you have, and send the guy who probably was bullied greatly as a child, so he would be prepared for the snarky questions asked. Because with a name like Milt, I'm sure it was Fig Newton.
Wow. Milt.
throughout his entire lifespan.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to take any question thrown his way and just let it roll off his back and give you some standard answer to a question.
I suppose that's fair. I mean, maybe John Horst had something come up and they're like, it's just a second round pick. Milt, can you do it? And maybe Milt's like, my time to shine. Yeah. Let me take a rip at this. Yeah, give me some responsibility. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's as simple as it was. I don't know. I just feel like the general manager should make themselves available after his team makes a selection. That's all.
And I got 6 acres of swampland over here in Sparta. I'd like to sell you for about $200,000.
Hey, there's real potential in some of that land, Tim. Let's be careful now. They're not making any more of it, even if it's swampland.
Yes, I know. But this is just too laughable. I mean, my only thought is that possibly they're thinking that this guy is going to be like, the gangly Giannis that showed up all those years ago, who hadn't reached his growth potential and filled out and became this ginormous, player with skills and.
Well, he's got high IQ, and you heard all the traits, Tim. He's got it all.
Yeah, and he needs to be fed a protein shake every hour on the hour for the next year.
Just give him an IV, actually. Just feed him intravenously. Not to his nose. He's got plenty of nose. It's the rest of his body that needs to be bulked up a little bit.
Well, that's just to provide shade for the guards if they play an outside game.
Sure. And they might in Serbia. Look, we're having fun with it. We're not, nobody get their panties in a twist because I can't believe you'd speak that way about. Serbians have big noses. What is that? What are you, Grant, you racist? Nothing like that. I appreciate the call, Tim in Sparta. There's some nice land out by Sparta. See that big mansion right at the 90-94 split when you go left or you depending on what direction you're coming from. But if you're heading westbound, you take left on 90. You see that big mansion up there? I know it's a little bit before Sparta. There's some beautiful land back there, though, Tim. I've been to Justin Trails. I've thrown a frisbee golf or two back there. You're holding out on me. It's a well-kept secret. Let's take another call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. I have a question for you.
Yeah. What's up?
The official reasons that they've DH'd Christian Yelich so much this year are?
Do I know the official reasons? I don't know that they've given us official reasons. I just think it's in an effort to keep him healthy, probably.
Yeah, I had his back operated on. I was just curious as to why he's DH so much.
Do you want him to play more in the outfield? Maybe that's something I think a lot of Brewers fans like, well, you're making all this money and now you're a full-time DH. He's also aged and he's injury prone. Do you have a problem with that or you're just curious?
I have somewhat of a problem with it. I mean, Collins is doing a great job. I just missed him in the outfield. That's all.
He's got kind of a crummy throwing arm.
Oh, you think Christian Yelich doesn't have a great throwing arm?
Yeah, he just. I mean, look, Yelich has been a fine left fielder. He hasn't been bad. It's not like you've taken Yadier Molina from behind the plate, though. Or Nolan Arenado off of third. It's not like you're taking some world-class left fielder out of position. He's been a fine left fielder. Isaac Collins has been better, and if that keeps Yelich healthier, the money. Look, he's getting paid the money either way. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel better about that contract if he also plays a position at this point. If he keeps hitting home runs and making the offense go, I'm fine with it.
Well, that's a better answer that I had. I've just been curious as to after the operation, he seems so healthy, and now he's DHing the vast majority of the time.
I think it's probably, and I appreciate the call. I think it's probably in an effort to keep him that way. You know what I mean? Like, how silly would you feel if Yelich dives for a ball and lands awkwardly, and it's like it could be avoided? You know what I mean? Again, you're not taking prime Yadier Molina or Joe Mauer out from behind the plate. That would feel like a waste. Or Nolan Arenado in his prime. It's like that guy is the best third baseman in baseball. Yelich was a fine left fielder, but you're not losing defensive value by not having him out there. And who's the other player, by the way, on this team who should be DHing? What are you losing by not having that DH? Oh, Jake Bauers plays a little bit less. And by the way, Jake Bauers has had a fine season, but it's not like you have prime Nelson Cruz on the bench who now all of a sudden can't play every day because Yelich can't play left field. It's just not something I would get totally bent out of shape about. All right, we got about 60 seconds for this call before we got to get to Zach Heilprin. Who's this?
Well, that's perfect because I have nothing really to say. So
nothing at all?
Not really. Just that. So are you talking about the house that's a little further toward Toma?
A little bit. It's right off at 90 once you turn left around the bend, and then it's up kind of to the right.
Yep. Should have been a cranberry farmer. I think that's what that is.
Do you ever think about living out in the bogs and that? I mean, it's beautiful. It's so quiet.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. Do you live somewhere around there?
No, this is Mississippi Drew.
Oh, hey, Drew. Oh, sorry. I didn't recognize your voice. Yeah, that big, beautiful cranberry house. Oh.
It's all good. Yeah. At least that's what the word is.
I wonder what the profit margin is like on cranberry farming, because there
well,
might be. I just
really was.
I just wonder if there's a cranberry farmer listening right now. It's like, trust me, it's not all that it's cracked up to be.
Right.
Probably there is a cranberry farmer listening and thinking that, but
Yeah.
I wonder.
I think the emphasis would be on landowner. I think that's the main,
I suppose, and you got to deal with those gates and the canals and stuff. Drew, I appreciate it. If I don't get to Zach on time, he feels slighted. I told him 4:35. We're going to get him on at 4:35. He was up at a campus at UW today for Squatfest 2025. So we're going to talk about that with Zach coming up next. I will get back to your phone calls as soon as possible. We're going to do 10 or 12 minutes with Zach, so he'll join us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, if you have any thoughts on, that's this guy's name, Bogoljub Markovic, well, we got plenty of time left. We got all the way until 6 o'clock. We can talk more about this guy. And also, Free Phones Friday will continue. So really anything you want to talk about the Brewers and the Rockies coming up tonight, or maybe something is on your mind relating to the Green Bay Packers. We'll get back to that, and I'll get back to taking your phone calls. Joining us now is Zach Heilprin, our sports director here at WOZN. You hear him on the camp with our other recurring guest, Jesse Temple. And I also consider him a close personal friend, a longtime guest of the show. And Zach, right before I took this break to get to you, I had Mississippi Drew. He had called in to talk about the Bucks and also something related to a cranberry farm, nothing that you need to know about unless you're curious. I can loop you in. But I said, Drew, I got to go because I want to get to Zach right at 4:35, because if I don't, he'll call me on it. And you did text me over the break. Look at you, ... all on time. So I'm glad that I held up my end of the bargain tonight for you.
Of course, my first words come in here at 4:37. But yes, no, you were right on. You were right on. Like when you said 2 minutes, it was 4:33. I was like, oh boy.
It's like an airplane. You take off at a certain time, but there is a small boarding window. I consider radio very similar.
Right. And this is the first time I've ever been on at 4:35, so I give you a lot of props.
Normally it's not 4:37, it's 4:40. So we are making progress. You were on campus today for Squatfest 2025. Some excellent social media content from you and from UW and from the rest of the Badgers beat as well. So for those listening who might not be familiar with Squatfest, could you lay it out for us before we go any farther?
It's exactly that.
Okay.
It's Squatfest, right? It's in the title, Grant. It's essentially their final day for the veterans, and they just go out and max out squat. And so you got guys putting up 500 pounds, got guys putting up 600 pounds, got just some craziness athletically from these guys. And it is a little bit crazy. It's very loud. They got lights, DJs. They got these guys dressed up in war paint. Their faces are painted and got costumes, not costumes on, but like dressed up and like things cut. And yeah, it's a scene. I'll say that. It's a scene. For sure. It's the third one they've done. Second one I've been to. It looked a lot like last year, but apparently it was a little bit different.
But it's not just about the squatting. There is a greater sense of community and some might say just guys being guys or dudes being dudes. That seems to be the crux of it.
Absolutely. Guys cheering each other on and like yelling in each other's ears and trying to get up as much weight as possible.
There are some folks, Zach, who might be jaded by seeing these videos. I'll give you a guess at one person who was jaded today and had to text me about it. Could you guess maybe who that was?
Like within the last few minutes here?
No, it was this morning, actually. I got sent the link, and this person said they're really still doing this. Can you believe this?
Vagabond John.
No, it was Ben Kenny, actually, although Vagabond John might feel the same way. And I told Ben, I said, you know what, Ben, of all the things that they're doing right now, I actually maybe have the least amount of criticism for this. This seems like a cool thing to celebrate the end of the offseason program. Is that kind of how we might consider this if it were like a Packers or a
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's exactly what it is. And we got a chance to talk with Brady Collins, who's the one that oversees the entire strength and conditioning program. And, things change a little bit here, but it's exactly what it is. It's about teamwork. It's about having guys' backs. It's about just becoming a team. And I don't think, and I understand people's being jaded like that. and because the last 2 seasons have not been great. But I don't think that we need to just crush them for doing this. It's kids, right? They're kids, and they're trying to have a good time. You're trying to do all those little things to make a team, and I don't think a Squatfest is a huge problem.
Are any of these guys? Wisconsin football should have tickets. They should be able to go to Morgan Wallen this weekend, right? It's at Camp Randall. It's in support of the collective. Like, are any of these guys going tomorrow night or Sunday night?
It's in support of the collective.
Is it not? I thought it was somehow connected. I might have just made that up.
Not.
It is not.
No,
well, it's not supporting UW. It's not raising money for any arm of anything at all.
I mean, Wisconsin's making money off of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So not the collective directly, but it's at Camp Randall. It's a thing for them. Let's not get bared down on the details. Now who's acting like Ben Kenny? Are any of the football players going? Let me just ask you that way.
I did not. I would assume some are. I'm interested to see who's going to have walk out with them. I like in other places, if the football team had been any good the last couple of years, I feel like Luke Fickell would have been one of the guys who've been walking out with them one of the nights, right? Like he always has like a sports guy. He had Roger Clemens and Drake down in Houston. He also had Mattress Mac and Andre Johnson. So like he does the sports thing. So I would assume there's potentially maybe some UW guys involved, but I don't have a name for you yet.
I'm hoping for Carter Gilmore. I want to speak that into existence. I mean, who gets a better reception? Luke Fickell, Chris McIntosh, or Carter Gilmore?
I would say Carter Gilmore at this point.
Unfair question.
But I know there's some other basketball alums in town right now as well. So maybe one of those guys will stick around.
That's right. That whole thing was going on. Zach Heilprin is here. A Badger question, not related to Squatfest or Morgan Wallen. Are we going to get an Amari Latimer commitment? Or is that going to get locked up? A big cornerstone of that recruiting class, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, that is something that we've been waiting on since the beginning of June. And I think we will have, I believe we will have a resolution by the time Morgan Wallen walks out tomorrow night. I'll say that.
Really?
Yes.
That seems informed.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe that will be the case.
Okay.
But again, everything changes, right? Like, so the guy that committed yesterday, Jaden Pettit, the four-star wide receiver.
Yeah, let's talk about that guy. Yeah.
Third highest ranked wide receiver they've ever landed. And so in the first 4-star guy that they've had since 2017 when Danny Davis committed on signing day. But like Jaden Pettit, like they put out the whole bat thing or the bat signal or whatever you want to call Luke Fickell, and then nothing for hours. And it's like, all right, well, is someone trying to throw a little extra money at Jaden Pettit to come their way instead? And so you just never know until it's actually at the end. And this is even in the end. It's June 27th. It can't sign until December.
So the third highest wide receiver ever, another one was Danny Davis. Who's the other? Do you know off the top of your head? I'm just curious.
Well, no. So Jaden Pettit is the third highest rated one they've ever had. Danny Davis is the last 4-star receiver.
Oh,
he's high. Jaden Pettit is rated higher than Danny Davis. I'm just saying, like the last 4-star wide receiver that they had, according to the 24/7 composite, was Danny Davis. Now, the two guys that are ahead of them. One is a name that people should know because he went on and played a long time in the NFL, played for the Packers. Lance Kendricks. He was a wide receiver coming out of Milwaukee.
God, I forgot he was a Packer. Holy crap!
And ended up playing tight end and was a really, really good tight end for Wisconsin. The other guy, his name's Craig Appleton. He was out of East St. Louis and got kicked off the team after 1 year, and then. Had some stronger legal or some more serious legal issues later in life.
Bigger problems than just not being able to hack it as a prestigious student athlete at a university like UW. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Him and a couple other guys get kicked off because they stole some stuff they shouldn't have. And one of the other guys who got kicked off is still in the NFL right now. His name is I'm lost on it right now. I'll find it before the end. I'm going to find it before the end of the show.
No. I'm just curious. How long ago was this?
They got kicked off the team after the 2009 season.
Oh, holy crap! Nice career for whoever that other thief is. Good for him. Zach Heilprin is here, our sports director, and you can hear him on the camp with Jesse as well. So Squatfest today, Amari Latimer, we checked that box, big wide receiver recruit. Is there anything else that we should know as kind of we now
Shelby
go
Harris.
into Shelby Harris. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait, the D lineman?
Yep.
Oh.
He went and played, I think, at Illinois State maybe, and then went in the NFL and was still playing last time I looked.
I think he was a part of the Russell Wilson trade, wasn't he? Was he one of the D linemen? Which nice Wisconsin symmetry there. If so, again, this is not really all that. This is not really all that important. I'm just curious, and I'm just scratching.
He's apparently in Cleveland now.
Is there anything else related to Jeff Grimes, recruiting, as we kind of launch fully now after Squatfest and after this weekend is done, as we launch into the offseason? Anything Badgers fans should be thinking about or aware of?
Yeah, I mean, again, June is the big month. July is a little bit quieter because obviously you have a whole bunch of recruiting stuff that happens in June. And we're talking about the 2026 class with Jaden Pettit and Amari Latimer, the two big ones. And they obviously got Jaden Pettit, and obviously the hope is to get Amari Latimer, the running back out of Georgia. It's a flash forward now to 2027. And one of the recent names that got an offer will be a familiar one. His name is Ethan McIntosh. And do you know who his dad is?
I would guess it's Chris McIntosh, but I don't want to assume. Oh, okay.
It is. He is a 3-star offensive lineman out of Verona. So he just got an offer from Wisconsin. He's in the class of 2027. So they are starting to focus a little bit more on that group. I'm sure they will have some more guys in 2026 past Amari Latimer. They have some other guys that they're looking at, and probably even more so when when high school ball starts, you're able to break down some more of that tape. But a lot of the focus is on 2027 now, and Ethan McIntosh among the in-state guys, 6 so far that have gotten offers from Wisconsin.
And you know me, I do love grinding the coverage of our wonderful high school athletes from corner to corner, from the lakefront to the riverfront. Lastly, I remembered now what I wanted to ask you about to wrap up. John Tonje going a couple picks after the Bucs selected last night. It will be fun to see how he does, because if he stinks, no big deal. But if he's good, well, then we can, use that as a dead horse to beat against the Bucs all season long. I feel like there's some there are some traits there that can help an NBA team. I still have a bad taste in my mouth from last year when the Bucs had an opportunity to take Terrence Shannon Jr. and they didn't. And then he's a useful, helpful player for a contending team, and the Bucs are, shipping off 19-year-old AJ Johnson to the Wizards.
Yeah, and I wonder if obviously the Terrence Shannon Jr. situation is a little bit. There's more to it than just basketball, right? And I know again he was found innocent, but there's more to it. But he was a fantastic player for Illinois. I think he was the best guy that Wisconsin played against that year.
I think so too.
He tore them up in the Big Ten championship game, or the Big Ten tournament title game of Minneapolis. He was fantastic. But John Tonje, what a story, man. I mean, he was going to be at New Mexico or New Mexico State, one of the two, and ends up at Wisconsin, ends up being an All-American, ends up just absolutely tearing up the record books. I mean, people are not going to necessarily remember him as an all-time Badger, but his season is all-time. I mean, the second most points of all time, third most 3-pointers. He sets the record for most free throws made, best free throw percentage. Dude set the record with NCAA tournament scoring with 37. He played big in big games, 25 points per game against ranked teams.
And he had that run when we covered the Illinois game together. He had a run of how many 30-point games in a row? That put him on another short list as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was amazing. He was insane, and I hope he kills it out there. I would assume he's going to show up as opposed to Ace Bailey.
Is it bad that as we got ready for the draft, and I even had a college basketball guy in earlier this week, maybe not with Dylan Harper, because he seems like a prospect that everybody loves, but with Ace Bailey, it's like that Rutgers team wasn't any good. And I know that college success does not preempt NBA success. I know, I'm not an idiot, but I want them to actually look functional. I'd like for them to make the tournament. I don't think that's asking too much.
How upset would you be if you were a fan of Rutgers and you have 2 of the top 5 picks in the draft and you didn't make the tournament?
A little. Yeah, I wouldn't be great because even if you made the tournament and you busted out in the first week, the idea is we'll just get us into the tournament and we're going to have the 2 best players or the 2 most talented guys in just about any game that we play. And they didn't even get that opportunity.
Right. And Rutgers, basketball, when Steve Pipe's put some good teams together. Those 2 guys, with the rest of it just wasn't very good. The one game Wisconsin played against them out there, Ace Bailey was trash. He was horrible. I think Harper was hurt, or Harper was sick. So I think I don't know if he didn't play a ton, but Ace Bailey was not impressive whatsoever. But it was very amusing to see him try and push himself down to the draft. He was listed at 6'9" and at Rutgers, he's really only 6'7". All this information coming out
insane.
Because he didn't work out for Utah. I don't think he worked out for quite a few teams.
I don't.
Did he work out for anybody?
I was going to say I could misremember, and it's beside the point because his process has been bizarre and his representation has been bizarre. Anyways, I don't think he worked out for anybody. It's weird.
So very weird, But he did not go to the place he wanted to go to. But we'll see.
Sorry, you couldn't go to Washington, I guess, man. Like weird slant.
It's like I wanted to go to a fun city or a good city. I mean, I guess Washington. I guess Brooklyn, maybe. I don't know. But I understand why he may not want to be in Utah. I understand why a lot of people may not want to be in Utah. But
that's what the money's for, buddy. I guess.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm not going to feel bad for you.
That's exactly what it's for.
To play basketball and to play where you're asked, at least for your first contract. You don't like it in 4 years, prove yourself, and then you can go make money anywhere that you want. It's not complicated. And I do remember that Rutgers game. That was a weeknight game at the Rack, and it was an ugly game. It was ugly. A lot of missed shots and turnovers. So it wasn't just that Harper was sick and then Ace Bay. Just about everyone was bad in that game. But one of Wisconsin's many impressive road wins from last season. I'm excited for college sports to return. Zach, I can't tell you how much this made my Friday night. Thank you for joining the show. Have a good weekend.
No problem, Grant.
Are you going to Morgan Wallen?
I am. I'm going tomorrow night.
Enjoy. I will talk to you about it next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, Zach. Zach Heilprin, our sports director at WOZN. Appreciate his time as always. There's a caller on hold. So why wait? Let's just go right to it, and then we'll take our break. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, I'm honored. Am I the resident narcissist? Or I guess, well, that might be true too, but pessimist when it comes to Badger football?
No, you are, but for what I was talking about, Ben Kenny sent me a text this morning about Squatfest. He's like, they're still doing this, which you're not jaded against Squatfest, are you? I mean, how can you hate that? That's dudes being dudes.
I love it. You got to make it fun. It's a different era. It's not like Ben Kenny's era of kids, right?
What, 4 years ago? Is that Ben Kenny's era, 2021? 2019, probably. Yeah. That's probably his dream team.
Back then, straight faces only. Right now, we're bringing the fun back in the weight room. No problem with that. What I do have a problem with is just continued Badger fans and now even football parents of the Badger family just finding any way to remove any credit for some of the playmakers that are on this team. So if you saw Zach's tweet and you saw the name that ran sub 4.5, right? Mm-hmm. Vinny Anthony, Cade Giacomelli, Austin Brown. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm watching these Badger fans tweet out, it's just awesome to have a program that, really puts an emphasis on finding speed. Grant, what do those three players have in common?
Let me think for a second. Those are all Paul Chryst guys.
Those are all Paul Chryst recruits. So I make a comment. I said, isn't it a little ironic that all the fastest players are from the previous administration? So then they come in and they go, well, Brady Collins made them all faster.
Well,
Grant, we're going so far beyond reality, and even their parents are getting in it now. And of course, I'm going to get dunked on. I'm going to look like the ass calling this out, which, I'm never. Look, I will volunteer, hand up right away. But I went back and found the 40 times of the players in high school. Grant, they were all sub 4.5. So I don't like these guys. They don't understand. The data's out there, right? I got called out by Kevin Haywood's stepdad saying, you got to do your research. I'm like, this dude doesn't even know who he's talking to.
No, he sadly does not. Vagabond John, I'd say get a hobby. I appreciate the call, but I think you need more hobbies or you need a different hobby. Maybe this is your hobby. I mean, it's not a bad point, but at some point, man, like even the Japanese soldiers on the islands laid down their rifles in the 70s following World War II. Like at some point, we're still within a couple of years. I'll give you one more season, Vagabond John, but that's about it. We'll take our final break of the hour. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Got about 2 minutes before we get to an update from, conveniently enough, Zach Heilprin. Just enough time for a quick phone call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Greg and Madison.
Hey, Greg. What's going on?
Not too much. Just calling about the Bucks.
Yes.
Talking about draft. You know, whatever Booby Miles or whoever it was we took at 47 or whatever pick it was. Classic horse pick. High ceiling, low floor. I'm actually super excited about Mark Spears coming in though, from Alabama.
That seemed to be the pick that this is the classic. We see this in the NFL all the time too. We're mad about the 5th or the 6th round pick, but we're all over the moon for the undrafted free agent. So this does kind of follow how sports fans often
For sure.
feel.
I just think he can be, and maybe it's because he's a lefty, but he could be like a Jalen Brunson light. Not an all-star by any means, but he's a player that can come in and help right now, which the Bucks have never done in the draft, or at least in the last 10 years. So I'm just excited to see a guy who maybe has the ceiling of a Jeff Teague and the floor of a role player. You know, a guy who can help this year. I'm just, as a Bucks fan, that makes me excited.
Well, and Greg, and that's an excellent call. And I'm sorry to make you go in a brief window here, but you got all your information out, and I appreciate that because we got a break here in about a minute, and I don't want to make you wait until the other side of the hour. Bucks fans, if your complaint is, well, you didn't get a guy who helps now, well, then they did get the guy from Alabama after the draft. I wanted that guy. Who's that guy on Alabama with the nice hair and the mustache? My kind of greaseball looking guy. Was it like Grant Steck? No, it's not that, because I'm pretty sure he plays for the better football team. It's Grant something. Great mustache, great hair. I'm assuming he got drafted, or maybe he sucked, actually. I don't know. I just watched a couple Bama games. He was great. My kind of guy. But Bucks fans, they took the project guy, but then signed as an undrafted free agent. They got a guy who can maybe help now. So I appreciate that point from Greg and Madison. Hour number 2 coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the NBA draft concluded last night with the second round. The Bucks had just one pick and took Bogoljub Markovic out of Serbia. The 19-year-old made his debut for the national team last year. Also averaged 13.7 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 2.7 assists for his professional team in Serbia. What kind of impact could the 47th overall pick have next year? Assistant GM Milt Newton says that's still to be determined.
We really don't know right now. We just know that he's going to be with us for Summer League. He could be with us. We could roster him next year or the year after, but we're going to work with his agent and try to figure out the best course of to proceed with him. But we're really excited to have him.
The NBA Summer League slate gets going July 10th in Las Vegas. That league should also include former Badgers guard John Tonje. He was selected in the second round by Utah, just the second former Badger to be taken since 2015, joining Johnny Davis, who went in the first round back in 2022. Meanwhile, former Badgers guard Chucky Hepburn, who played his final year at Louisville, signed a two-way contract with Toronto and going to be taking part in Summer League with the Raptors.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, after a day off, the Brewers back in action tonight as they open up a series against the Wolfville Rockies at American Family Field. Colorado, 18-63 on the year, on pace for the worst winning percentage for a season in the modern era. Milwaukee comes in having won 6 of 7. First pitch coming up at 7:10. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Hi, it's Mike Clemens outside of Fiserv Forum, downtown Milwaukee, where it's round 2 of the NBA draft tonight. Now, we were scheduled to come inside Fiserv Forum and monitor the draft, and at the end of the night, talk to Bucks GM John Horst. Now, of course, not only would he get questions about who they took or if they took somebody with the 47th pick overall, but, there'd be a lot of Giannis Antetokounmpo questions, right? How's he doing? Are you going to keep him next year at all? We got a notice about a half hour before they're going to open the doors that tonight's gathering is canceled. Go back to your offices, go back to your homes. We'll have a Zoom call for you with the Bucks assistant general manager, Milton Newton. He'll take your questions on what happened tonight with the Bucks. And that's it. No John Horst. That's different. Stay tuned.
With the 47th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Bogoljub Markovic from Uzetse, Serbia, and Serbia's Mega Basket.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's Mike Clemens from before the draft last night. One more time, when he's on the scene, you know something's about to go down. The Bucks canceling their media party with the food and the spread and all the things, which, if you're in the media, the #1 priority is what the spread is, obviously. But then just going digital. We're going to do a Zoom, and it's not going to be John Horst. It's going to be Milt Newton, and there will be no crazy trades. There will be no wild maneuvers. You are going to get what the heck's this guy's name again? Bogo what? This is why I saved the soundbite. Is I genuinely, it's a tricky one. We'll get there. Like I said, let me play this.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Bogoljub, of course. Crank that Bogoljub, as Austin kept saying this morning. Your phone calls on that, or ideally anything else, because you can only get so much run out of Bogoljub Marjanovic.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Markovic, of course, the Serbian fella, who the Bucks, I believe, took at the 47th overall pick. It's a Free Phones Friday, so 608-321-1670. Whatever's on your mind, let's take a call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Darnell.
Hey, Darnell, what's up?
So on this Free Phones Friday, it's not really sports related, if that's okay.
That's fine, dude. Anything that gets me to 6 o'clock without needing to have another hour of good analysis around Bogoljub Markovic.
Okay. Well, I was reading in my Bible just around the lunch hour today, and
scripture.
In the scriptures, yes, in the actual scriptures, and I was reading about Samson. Are you familiar?
Yes, with the long hair.
With the long hair, right?
Samson and Delilah.
So the guy just gets completely, taken for a ride by his hot Philistine girlfriend. And then she cuts off his hair and he loses all his strength, right? So this is like the strongest dude in all of Israel.
Correct.
And he loses all his strength, gets his eyes gouged out, like his whole life is over. And then he goes straight kamikaze pilot on the Philistines and pulls an entire temple down on top of him and kills thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that is the most wild story you could possibly think of, right? Like, you don't just think like one day, you know what? I'm going to make up a story about this guy that gets super, super strong for no reason. And then it's actually, there is a good reason. It's his hair. And if you cut it off, he loses all his strength. And then they cut off his hair, he loses his strength, and then he gets it back and just kills a bunch of people because he can't do anything else.
He goes Incredible Hulk. Well, first of all, you're indicating that story's made up. I'm not sure what could you mean by that?
I'm saying you can't make that up.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, because it's not made up. I think, you know what? The Old Testament, Darnell, is quite underrated. There is some insane stuff in there. So the New Testament, lots of reasonable, like the New Testament, if you were to try to explain the Bible to someone, it would track, perfectly. There's this guy named Jesus. He's the Son of God. He comes to earth to teach us lessons, and he does through by, performing miracles and sharing parables and then sacrificing himself for the greater. Like, all right, yeah. Like, I get that. The New Testament. But then, like, explaining the Old Testament, it's like, I don't know, man. There's plagues. There's this whole ark storyline. Genesis, they spend a couple chapters just describing the firmament. Like, the Old Testament is pretty... And honestly, that's why so many of these biblical shows, they focus on the New Testament and Jesus. I just want just the Old Testament, because there's some insane stuff in there. Let Christopher Nolan take a rip at some of those chapters.
Well, just go a like source material only Samson movie would be absolutely awesome.
There's some IP in there to be. What would the Samson popcorn bucket look like? Would it have doll hair on it?
I mean, it would definitely be like just this buff and completely nude person, right? Like that's what movie theaters do. They just like make it completely nude with like a little loincloth, but it's like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right?
I think that the people making these popcorn buckets, I think they know exactly what they're doing. I think they're making buckets that are memeable and slightly suggestive in nature. You know what I mean?
I would take off the slightly. They're just straight up suggestive.
I would think so too. Were you? You know what? I don't even want to know. Darnell, that's an excellent call. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. I was going to ask if you were actually reading scripture during lunch today, but you know what? I prefer your story taken at face value. So I actually don't want you to explain any further. To your texts, Mississippi Drew says, have you ever heard of Bill Kazmaier? Went to Wisconsin, played football, set crazy lifting records, world's strongest man. Fun little dive. Also, Bart says, Grant Nelson, Bama guy. I was looking him up over Zach's update. That's the Alabama guy that I remembered. I want Wisconsin to get that guy. Dirty rat-looking guy with a mustache, my kind of guy. He also signed as an undrafted, or he's going to have a chance. Undrafted free agency in the NFL is a little bit different than guys who sign two ways who aren't drafted in the NBA. He's in Brooklyn. Not Wisconsin, but Milwaukee. The Bucks land Mark Sears, as Greg and Madison told us before Zach's update, right? So you have a little bit of, a guy for the future who probably will never play in the NBA, but you take a big swing. And then, after the draft, you go and get someone like Mark Sears. And they've had some success with doing that. That's basically what they've done with Andre Jackson Jr. Not that he's played a ton and he's far from a perfect player, but that's a guy who I hope can contribute. And again, get you through 82 games. There's a difference, folks, between winning a 7-game series against a healthy Boston Celtics or Indiana Pacers team. There's a difference between that and navigating an 82-game regular season. And I think the Bucks, with some of their question marks and some of their salary options and players who were kind of on the fence about picking up an option or turning it down or coming back or leaving, right? There does get to be a real concern about getting through the 82. With Giannis, I actually feel like the Bucks might be better positioned than some in a 7-game series. To navigate an entire 82-game season, well, that's a little bit different. You need some bodies for that. Mark Sears could maybe be a part of that. So the Alabama guy. I wanted Grant Nelson. I thought for whatever reason he would get drafted. But maybe that's because of his aura and for no other reason. I also got some texts, and I'm an hour behind on this, but in the opening segment, I couldn't remember Russ Ball's name. So thank you to Bart and Coyote Mike and Zach and Altoona for all. Yes, Russ Ball is the guy who does the contracts. On the topic of cranberry bogs, which also came up before we talked to Zach Heilprin, Colin in Fall Creek says, my wife is from Millston by the Hableman's Marsh in Warrens. I love bog country, if I may. During the pandemic, a lot of my Wisconsin adventuring, my time from adventuring stems to that time, because in 2020, living in La Crosse. Basically, if you're going to college, you just stopped going. You finished the semester in the spring of 2020, finished the semester online, everybody left, and all of a sudden it's summer and you had a job maybe, but if you'll remember in 2020, a lot of employers and managers were like, how can we find a way to not lay off people, but we also don't want them in the building? It's like, who's the comedian? Oh, he's a legend. He passed away. Patrice O'Neill, I think, maybe. This is what I'm thinking of. He had the bit about how men, they want to be alone, but they don't want to be by themselves. Like, we want a woman. We just don't want you in the room with us. You know what I mean? Like, we want you I think the bit is like, we want you somewhere, like on the roof, anywhere else. That was kind of the approach to employers, especially of entry-level employees. Yours truly included, as I was in 2020, I was 22. Like, if people are coming into the building, it doesn't need to be the 22-year-old. Like, we don't, can you find a way to like come in at night? Or so I had all this free time to do F all with. So we would do all sorts of things. We would go up north, up yonder towards Superior. Buddy had a cabin up there. Or we would go to what we came to very fondly call bog country. We would just drive towards Toma. And if you know the right old fellas who know the streets and the highways and the byways and the bogs, they'll set you up and they'll tell you, hey, this bog is actually either on public land or it's accessible for one reason or another. I don't remember the logic. But if you go down, County Highway ABC, you take a right and you cross over the little spillway, there's a little parking area. And this old bog hasn't been used in, since the days of Farmer Jim Bob Samson, whatever. Continue with Darnell's theme, Samson and Delilah. And there are bluegills in them there bog. You bring a bobber and some leaf worms, you huck them out there and you just catch big slab bluegills all day. So we would just go to the bogs. There's a vibe has become such an overused word in our society, so I'll use a different word. There's an energy around the bogs. If you ever go towards Toma, you can't go into Toma. You don't want to be in Toma. You want to get off the beaten path a little bit. You got to get away from the hustle and bustle of Toma. And you get out there in the bogs with your little spin fishing pole and your lawn chair. And you can look at, pert near half a mile in all directions. And maybe off in the distance, there will be a boat putting around the bog. Not technically a boat, but one of those like water combines at Spurs. There's a certain energy. There's a rhythm to the bogs. You just don't get anywhere else, whether it's Millston or obviously up towards Warrens if you head farther north on 94. But you can get it then there around Toma. Or, of course, you can go down the highway a little bit towards Babcock and the like. You get really into some bog country. But pert near around Toma was my favorite hidey hole. Nobody's interested in this. But are you interested in... The hell's this guy's name?
Bogoljub Markovic.
Bogoljub Markovic. Here's the Bucks assistant general manager, last night. Do you plan to use him this season? Or is this a total development kind of stash a player for the future?
We really don't know right now. We just know that he's going
Look, I don't mean to laugh. It's general manager speak. He's up there to fulfill a media requirement. It's fine. But when your answer starts with, we really don't know. It's like, okay.
We really don't know right now. We just know that he's going to be with us for Summer League. He could be with us. We could roster him next year or the year after. But we're going to work with his agent and try to figure out the best course of to proceed with him. But we're really excited to have him.
Hey, Juice Newton, Milt Newton, what stood out on the scouting report for
Bogoljub Markovic?
Yeah, that's the one. What stood out on the scouting report?
His basketball IQ. He really knows how to play the game, really understands moving without the basketball. He can really shoot the basketball, and so that's something that stood out as well. But I think his overall basketball IQ and acumen for the game is something that really stood out, especially with that size.
Basketball IQ. So he's basically Jokic. He's not saying that. I'm being a dick, and for that I apologize. Anything else interesting? This is a good one. Mike Clemens labeled it good, in fact. Does Giannis have much input during the draft? You guys staying in contact with that fella?
Giannis watches the draft.
No, he doesn't. There's no way. He better not. You're in Greece, man. Go lay on the beach.
Giannis watches the draft every year. This year was no different. But at the end of the day, we do all of our work and we make our decisions. And to be honest with you, like, we would rather talk about the player that we drafted than talk about Giannis. You know, John will have his conversations that you guys can have with him regarding Giannis, but I think tonight should be about the guys that we draft.
Very, very fair. It's totally fair, and that's a good out as a general manager when you're asked about something that you don't want to talk about. Like, well, you know, I want to talk about the players. Let's not disrespect and let's not take away from this fella's moment.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Bogoljub Markovic. Let's not take away from Bogoljub's moment. I want to give him his due. How will NBA free agency be used by the Bucks to improve the roster?
Well, in regards to free agency, really free agency is actually, for us, free agency is the vehicle that we believe will help us stay at the level and beyond to win a championship where we are. And so a player like that, it's like I said before, it's the upside that we see. How he performs in summer league will depend, I think, a lot on whether or not we think he is a player that can be rostered this year, or maybe he goes back to Mega and play a year there, get a little bit more experience, and then come back the following year and try it again. But at the end of the day, you know, he's a young player. Getting young, new infusion of blood is something that's really important for us to prolong, you know, our where we are as a team in terms of trying to win consistently for a long time. So that's something that will happen as the summer go on, and we can get a better feel of what he brings to the table.
And lastly, how can you beat the Thunder or the Pacers or other teams? Can Markovic help you with that?
Well, the one thing that we've seen and that we've noticed is that those teams have 5 players on the floor at a time that can defend the perimeter. And he definitely can do that and add to that. Also, those teams got up and down in transition. He definitely provides an aspect of that. But the one thing that I saw that was real apparent is the teams that played together as a team, sharing the ball, making good basketball plays. And when you do that, you got to have a certain IQ to know those type of things. And for a young player, he displays that. So we feel like he has a lot of the tools and intangibles that can kind of be infused into our team to help us win.
And again, he said that's the thing that stood out on the scouting report most, is that basketball IQ.
His basketball IQ.
Basketball IQ. And feel for the game. Of course, don't forget about the feel for the game. So it's nice to hear from Milt Newton about this pick. If we all had to bet our mortgage right now on whether or not he ever plays a game for the Bucks, feels kind of like a coin flip. But that's why, by the way, it's a Free Phones Friday. So if you want to call in and talk about literally anything else, and please do, because Brewers Rockies starts up tonight. If there's anything pertaining to the Packers that you want to discuss, or even the Badgers, we got into that a little bit with Zach in hour number 1, or you know what, just anything in general. It's a Free Phones Friday. It's the summer. There's not a ton going on, and I've basically given you my piece on that fella that the Bucks dropped.
Bogoljub Markovic.
Bogoljub Markovic. That guy, as I was saying. Thank you for the assist. I've given you my piece on that. So to your phone calls next, 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Antetokounmpo has been in Milwaukee for 12 years, and so I reported during draft, combine, and lottery week that he was open-minded about seeing are there best possible fits outside of Milwaukee, and that is a due diligence process that he has undertaken. Everyone around him has undertaken as well. But again, he's been there for 12 years, so there's a level of equity in seeing what can the Bucks do at the draft, what can they do during free agency, how can they improve the team. He has said on record he wants to compete for a second NBA championship. They've got free agents in Bobby Portis, Brooke Lopez, Kevin Porter Jr. And so he's going to remain open-minded. I don't think his future is necessarily tied to this week, to free agency week. It's going to be a process where you see how this team looks into July, well into July potentially, and then ultimately he will see how the Bucks look, how the chess pieces look across the league, and ultimately have some form of a resolution.
Jeez. Woj was no smooth speaker on ESPN. This guy makes Woj sound like a poet. And I'm making fun of him. I guess I am a little bit. What I don't get about that report, and that's from earlier this week, well, I don't think Giannis's future in Milwaukee is tied to the draft, and I don't even think it's necessarily tied to free agency. Well, then what is it? Then what is it tied to? There's nothing else. Summer League? He wants to see how Summer League goes? What is it tied to? And I am not someone who's – although I have done my fair share of tweeting about this. I'm not someone who's going to jump in Shams mentions. Stop. Keep Giannis' name out of your mouth. You don't know anything. But I don't think he knows much. And it's annoying because you get these little 60 to 120 second reports, and there'll be like one shred of reporting in there, and then the rest is just like crap that we know. And he's been in Milwaukee for 12 years, and he's competitive. It's like, I know. Maybe if you presented this information in a way that didn't make your voice and your delivery sound like a 2002 Camry that was struggling to start, I could sit through it, but I can't. And I had a 2002 Camry that struggled to start, but it always did, and God, I missed that car. 608-321-1670. Let's take a call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hello, Teacher Tom.
Hey, Teacher Tom. What's going on? Painter Tom. You're in summer mode now.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, and actually painting my wife's new hair salon.
Now, so is that interior or exterior? Do you do interior painting as well?
This is interior.
Good for you.
So our garage is becoming like a salon suite.
Nice. Are you charging now? Are you getting your money's worth on this, or are you letting her, pull one over?
The only question is whose business pays for this?
Okay.
My painting business or?
Sure, I gotcha. Well, what are you thinking about this pick? I know you've been dialed in and following along.
Well, I've listened to sports radio, and hopefully it's good. I mean, should I care that they picked him? I mean, I hope he turns out good. Should I be excited or disappointed?
What I don't get, and I said this back at 4:00, Tom, is I felt like a lot of Bucks fans went into last night with a lot of emphasis and a lot of priority on what was going to go down. And then they took this guy, and then a lot of those same Bucks fans came back and said, well, it's just a second-round pick. Who cares anyways? It's like, well, we seemed to care a lot before the pick was made. We seemed to think that there was a lot on the line last night. Now you're telling me nothing was on the line? Like, I don't know. Seems to be a little conflicting.
Right. I mean, hopefully John Horst made his first good draft pick.
Yeah, I guess who is his best pick so far? I haven't even really – he took over – I can't remember.
This morning, I heard someone saying Dante DiVincenzo.
Probably, yeah. And that was a fine pick,
right.
and that pick probably would have been much better had Dante been healthy at the right time. And, so that even their best pick, they dealt with a little bad luck, and that's not on them.
Yes. But I have a different question for you.
Okay.
So you used to make the drive from like downtown Milwaukee to Madison all the time.
Yeah, a good amount. Yeah, on weekends, not every day, but on weekends I would do that a lot, yeah.
So thinking of some highway trivia, can you name every exit from downtown Milwaukee to Madison?
God. No, I mean, no. I could get closer once you get out to like, so 287 to Delafield, 285 to Delafield, and then there's Highway 67 in Economowoc, and then there's Sullivan, Ixonia. There's one more out there that I'm forgetting about. And then that's mostly it until you get to Johnson Creek. And then after Johnson Creek, about 5 miles, that's Lake Mills. And then a little bit farther is Marshall to the north, Deerfield to the south, Cottage Grove is one more. I'm missing one or two, but that's the crux of it.
When I thought of this a while ago, I got all but one starting at downtown.
Which one did you miss?
It was one of the Waukesha exits.
Sure. Yeah.
Just 'cause there's so many.
There's J, I know. And I could get a smattering of the one. It's just so much busier. You got Highway 100 by Tosa, and you got a couple of those interchanges. But they're a little bit more isolated and they're a little bit more sequential once you get out past 16. Once that's split and it kind of quiets down just a little bit. Do you have a favorite exit, Tom, while we're on the topic? Shoot, why not?
Well, I guess currently I live off the J164.
Oh, okay.
To the Waukesha Airport.
No, yeah. Not far from the big unit himself by the right off Blue Mound there.
Oh, right.
You guys could be neighbors for all I know. Watch, you live next door to him and you'd have no idea. I'll tell him to look outside, see if somebody's painting a hair salon. Although I think he's in La Crosse probably already for the Big River Rally this week.
Okay. So when you and your significant other need their next haircut or hair color,
it's good to
you know where to come.
I do know. Well, and we'll talk, but not before it's painted, Tom. I'm not coming to some shabby, cardboard or a particle board walled salon. You tell me when you got it done, and I'll make an appointment. Okay.
I think it'll be open in about a month.
All right, perfect. Well, I'll set my calendar. I don't want to get my hair cut before then anyway, so it's perfect.
Okay.
Have a good weekend, Tom.
You too.
Teacher Tom, who is converted to Painting Tom this summer. I think I got most of them. I know I'm missing one or two. I can't go from 16 to downtown, but I can go from 16 to Madison or just about. I think I'm missing a couple of them in there. But I got that stretch pretty well committed. But that's a much easier to commit. It's very sequential. It's every couple of miles. You're not being overloaded with 1A and 1B and 301A and 301B. Chepe Nylon tweets in and says, Thon Maker, but wasn't that, I thought that was Hammond. Maybe. I kind of messed with the Thon Maker pick. I thought that was going to be good. I was all in on the Thon Maker selection. I had mixed feelings about DJ Wilson. I had mixed feelings about Rashad Vaughn. I wanted TJ Leaf, and I believe the DJ Wilson draft. I think that was the same draft. I can't remember which one. I thought TJ Leaf, who I believe was from UCLA, I thought that guy was going to be the truth, and it turns out most of the guys suck. It's funny. People talk about the draft in the NFL. It's like, most of them stink. No. A good amount of them do. The NBA draft, just about all of them stink. You might get 2 or 3 stuck throughout. And then some of the hits are like Dante. Where it's like, okay, so you have a fine little career with some moments for your first teams, but then you go somewhere else for a year, and then you're included in a trade. Like, there are almost no home runs, even at the top of the draft. And then staying healthy is a whole other ordeal, as we've seen. Not that stopped, the Pelicans from really letting it hang out and giving up an unprotected future first, which we talked about a little bit last night. If you want that whole open that whole can of worms, we did that last night. I'm not doing that 2 nights in a row. I'll get to some of your texts and more of your calls, as it is a free phones Friday. You talk about scripture, as Darnell did. We talk about exits. And then, of course, I'll weave some more Bucks audio in. And as we get closer towards 6 o'clock and the Fins Up portion of the show, which is my favorite portion of any show all week long, because Friday. That rule's pretty hard too. But I'll give you some Brewers Rockies thoughts as well, as the Brewers are back in action tonight at American Family Field after winning the final 2 against the Pirates. So lots to discuss as we start to wrap up the show for the week, but 2 segments left and plenty of time for your phone calls at 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
There was a time when the NBA bought the arena from Milwaukee because the Bucks, if they didn't get financing, were going to leave Milwaukee. Giannis was a rookie. Then Giannis starts becoming Giannis. They get the financing. Right. They build the new building. The owner says, this building, this practice facility is a testament to Giannis and our commitment to build a championship around him. I think the national media completely underestimates how much Milwaukee means to Giannis and how much Giannis means to Milwaukee. Other than Steph Curry to the Warriors, no player means more to their city and organization than Giannis Antetokounmpo does to the Milwaukee Bucks.
How about Danny Parkins? His Cubs takes, his Craig Counsell takes, sure, send me, but we could separate that for a sec. I miss him on 670 dearly. Him and Spiegel in the afternoon. I'd listen to that a good amount, especially during baseball season. Something that really appeals to me about sports talk radio, specifically during baseball season, especially when Craig Counsell is, a topic or a guest. I will be there. But I think an excellent little rant on First Things First earlier today. He was filling in for Nick Wright, and Chris Broussard is the other voice that you hear on there. Like, there is a good chance that everyone who covers the NBA from a 10,000-foot view just completely and totally doesn't get it. And I was talking to someone from the Twin Cities a couple weeks ago. They're like, so where's Giannis going to go? And I'm like, I don't think he's leaving. And they're like, come on. It's like, not to just tell everyone on the outside that you don't get it because you're not in it. But I think most people don't get it because they're not in it. I really like that segment, and you can watch the full thing. I clipped that from just a tweet. It was about a 2.5-minute bit of audio. Parkins does a lot of good points. I cut what I thought to be the best 60 seconds. Free Phones Friday. Everything's on the board. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner Mark, how we doing, sir?
Ridge Runner, I am excellent. And you know what, Ridge Runner Mark? There's never been a better week. Well, I won't say that. I'll say this. It's a great week for you to live up on the ridge and not somewhere down below on the south side or downtown, because parts of your city appear to be underwater based on pictures that I've seen.
Funny you should say that. Wednesday, driving home, I thought I was going to go around it because I'm doing some errands after work, and I hear the siren, and then I hear on the radio, tornado has been sighted by police, blah, 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 and it listed 33 in Losey and this. I'm like, okay, I'll go the long way around. Well, unfortunately, I took the long way around up to West Salem, cut across M, and ran smack dab into the teeth of it. So, I was driving through, could maybe see 100 feet of rain. Thankfully, no real strong winds, but that was kind of interesting.
I saw some pictures south of town. There were some crazy. So I was telling you about this morning, Rich Runner. Like, part of the reason no one posts on Facebook, no one posts anywhere anymore because we're all so afraid of being cringe. Like, oh, if I post this picture with my family and I caption it, having a great 4th of July, like everyone's so scared that people are going to see that picture and be like, oh, you just love your family. Like everyone's afraid to be cringy now. So a big part of the reason I'm on Facebook is I can I follow like different cities around Wisconsin, their historical societies and like photography groups and stuff. People were down at Goose Island earlier this week taking some banger pictures of those cloud formations. There was a funnel cloud out over the river, some lightning strikes. It looked really cool, but also, kind of scary. There was a legit tornado touchdown.
Yeah, it was interesting. I had a couple of things for you. So yesterday,
yep,
I didn't realize what time it was when I called. I called you at like 5 to 6. You picked up, but never. You just wrapped up the show and finished the show off, and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, well.
Did I leave you on hold? I'm sorry.
I think you left me on hold. Well, it could have been tied to the old sprinkling of the whatever you sprinkled on the board there might have caused some shenanigans.
Yeah, so, the Diet Coke. I've had a struggle ever since Wednesday afternoon. This has just been not a good week for me in here. I've been struggling.
That's all right. We're all human. So my take from yesterday was you were talking about Quay Walker and what you need to see and what you haven't seen from him. And I might have brought up this comp before. I don't remember, but it immediately came to my mind. The comp for Quay Walker, and actually it might work out in the timing, is he's A.J. Hawk right before we get Clay Matthews.
Sure.
And then Clay Matthews is, who's the new kid? Why can't I think of his
Edgerrin
name?
Cooper.
That guy. He's the new Clay Matthews. So compare the two. You're like, well, Quay Walker isn't meeting the standard, but, he's A.J. Hawk compared to Clay Matthews. So that's what we're going to get. And honestly, I'd extend him if I know I'm going to get a solid, not too low, also not too high kind of guy that you can rely on. He just doesn't do the big splash thing you want, because we already have that in the new kid.
Yeah.
And then, I was just hopping in the car and listening to the guy talking about Giannis and how basically the national media doesn't get it. You never say never, but I really think because Giannis hasn't really said anything, and I feel like ESPN or whoever, when they've reached out and said, well, he's really watching the draft, why wouldn't he? It's interesting to see what the team is going to do.
Yeah.
But he hasn't said anything beyond he's open to. And honestly, I think the only reason he's open to anything is it'll benefit Milwaukee because he doesn't want to leave them hanging.
Yeah. I think so. That's really been since the week of the combine. That's been the only solid reporting. And I wouldn't classify it as solid, but when you listen to Shams, that's the only report that we've got other than just information that we know. Because on all these little minute or 2 minute sound bites, it's, well, he's been there this many years and they failed to get out of the first. They're just regurgitating history. I don't want that. Tell me what you're hearing. Tell me what we don't know. And the only thing that he's really put his name behind the last couple of weeks is Giannis is open everything, which is not a lot, but it's the only thing.
Yeah. And honestly, the other thing they're probably not hearing a lot from is because Milwaukee front office doesn't leak anything.
Yeah.
What did we?
They wouldn't even let Mike Clemens in the building last night. They told the media to go home. We're doing a Zoom call.
Yeah, Damian Lillard. We heard nothing about that until it happened, and that was probably on purpose. They just don't do that. They're not going to play that game. They're going to do what they need to do because they know they got to keep things tight, close to the vest to make sure they can do their best because they don't have all the money and all the big city glam that they can throw around. So, until it happens, I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't either. And I just don't really have reason to think that he is. I appreciate that. That's a good call, Ridge Runner Mark. Sorry I couldn't get you in last night. To circle back to your thoughts on A.J. Hawk, I am not a Mike Renner or even an Andy Herman, right? Someone like Andy Herman grind to the draft more primarily through a Packers lens. But then there are people who, like, here's my big board. It's got 300 players. It's like, geez, man, a lot of homework. Just know every inch of all of these guys and their games. I'm not someone who can tell you the intricacies of the type of player A.J. Hawk was: size, speed, weight, length, cutting. Does he have loose hips? You know what I mean? I can't tell you about A.J. Hawk's hips. I don't know. As a concept, right? As an idea, as a role on a team, A.J. Hawk was the complementary piece. The guy who's not going to create big-time, explosive, game-disrupting plays, but the field general to be the complementary piece to the guy who does create the big, explosive, game-changing plays. That was Clay Matthews. So I feel very similarly about Quay Walker. I don't know if he's the same size, speed. I don't know if he has loose hips. I don't know if he has good eyes or pad love. I don't know. But he fills in theory the same role that A.J. Hawk did, or he's playing the same role that A.J. Hawk did, where it's like solid player who's a complementary piece to the other guy. Now, I don't remember A.J. Hawk's contract situation. I could look it up over the break. I don't think that's super crucial to this conversation. Quay Walker's contract could be this. If you're watching on the live stream, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see? I'm going to share my screen here real quick. This is the Spotrac page for the top paid inside linebackers. So it starts with Roquan Smith. And I say only, in air quotes, because it's obviously big time money, but he's only making $20 million a year, which I know is, again, crazy money. But in the grand scheme of things, if you compare that to wide receiver, you compare that to edge rusher, you compare that to tackle, or obviously quarterback, that's not a massive chunk in your salary table every year. I also don't think Quay Walker's nowhere near the player that Roquan Smith is. I also don't think he's Tremaine Edwards, who's at number 2. I certainly don't think he's Fred Warner at number 3. And Zach Bond, I don't know who won Defensive Player of the Year last year, but if it wasn't him, he was right there. So let's go under Zach Bond. The next highest paid linebackers in the league are Jamin Sherwood, who's with the Jets, Jamie Sherwood, Nick Bolton with the Chiefs, and Terrell Bernard with the Bills. Patrick Queen right behind with the Steelers. That window is about $13 million to $15 million. If they pay Quay Walker $15 million a year for 3 years, I think that's very reasonable. That's not a massive hole in your salary cap table every year. That's a healthy contract, and that's a nice contract for Quay Walker, especially as a secondary piece to Edgerrin Cooper. But you remember, you're not paying Edgerrin Cooper for another 2 years, so you don't necessarily have to worry about that. There is a very reasonable and realistic world in which Quay Walker comes out and is the exact complementary piece that they need to kind of lock down the middle, the backbone of that defense, to allow Edgerrin Cooper to continue to come into his own and continue to be the playmaker that the Packers kind of need him to be and the playmaker that they drafted him to be. There's a very reasonable world in which Quay Walker has that type of season. And I said, yeah, give him a 3-year extension, because I don't think it's going to cost $20 million a year. I think it might be 15, 16, somewhere in there. Zach Bond just got paid for $17 million a year. In what world could Quay Walker say, well, I want that? How? You're not entitled to that. So I think you could get him 14, 15, 16 million a year for 3 years when you're not paying Edgerrin Cooper. And at this point, like I wouldn't be concerned about setting money aside for Lucas Van Ness. That's a fine way to spend money. I would accept that. And I know I'm not saying I would do backflips. I wouldn't do backflips, but I think that's a good outcome and a better outcome than Packers fans probably could have thought of or predicted 6 months ago when he was in the middle of that season, probably in a mental rut and playing some of the worst football of his career. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Tony from Texas.
Hey, Tony.
Happy early weekend. Was it Fins Up Friday? We still doing that?
It is. It absolutely is Fins Up Friday, Tony. I can't, can you not feel it in the air?
Yeah, like Phil Collins. I can feel it in the air. And I'll never forgive that guy for 2014, that fake field goal. Oh, my God, that pissed me off. It's brought to see. But I digress. Grant,
okay.
Do you have big plans for 4th of July week? Because I kind of do. I'm coming back to Milwaukee. I'm going to hit the Greeby's Bakery in West Dallas.
You going to get a hot ham?
A little hot ham. Maybe go over the 4th base. Maybe I'll run into Corey from Tosa. I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe Bart Winkler. He might be there.
He probably will be there.
Maybe then go over to Bodie's giving these recommendations on burgers, and I got to go to one of his spots, but I always go to Golden Euros for a good burger in West Dallas. But, after that, hopefully I can.
Hopefully what? Your phone connection stinks, Tony.
It stinks?
Yeah, you're hopefully going to do what? What was the last thing you said?
Well, hopefully I run into you on Lake Pewaukee or wherever you're cruising around.
What kind of means do you think I have? Do you think I own a slip on Okachi or on Lake Economowoc? I have some pontoon. I can't think of a pontoon brand at this moment in time, but I think I made my point. Like, what kind of man do you think I am?
I could see you hanging out at Lac La Belle. Anyone that has a French name like Lac La Belle has got to be a little snobby.
Like I'll hang out there at a bar. I'm not going to be cruising the water on a boat unless it's a friend's boat. If Bill sends out a text, hey, cruising around the lake, maybe. But I'm probably going to go up north and visit my parents. They don't live up north, but they live in a northerly direction. They're actually about an hour and 20 minutes south of up north of Highway 8. But I think that's my plan for next weekend. How long are you going to be in town?
I'll be in town for about a week. Want to hit a Brewer game, but I don't know if there's even any games going on. And but it'll be fun. Hopefully we connect. And everyone was down on the Brewers back in April and May, and I'm like, we're not even Memorial Day. I thought no one checked the standings.
Not me. I believed the whole time, Tony. So you can cast aspersions on others, but not on me.
You did not.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I believed every second. I told you this Brewers team deserves the benefit of the doubt. How much good baseball have they played the last couple of years? I'm telling you, just be patient. I mean, it's not even Memorial Day for crap's sake. It's certainly not Flag Day. So I believed through and through.
Okay. Yeah, go Brewers. And Giannis isn't going anywhere. The Pacers suck. There's no way that Giannis is going to turn down that challenge. So
your Marquette fella, Cam Jones, ends up with the Pacers because, of course, Marzian in shambles last night. One more call, then we'll take our last break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on 990.
Good evening, Eric. How are you?
Good evening, Grant. How are you?
I am excellent. I'm excited for the weekend. This is good.
Yeah, it's Floyd Friday. I know your Finn's up Friday, but I'm a Floyd Friday kind of guy.
Floyd Friday.
And,
They're gonna be playing one of the first concerts at Camp Randall since you saw Floyd way back in the day there.
When does this happen?
Well, not Floyd themselves. My point is Morgan Wallen playing tonight or tomorrow night and Sunday night is one of the first concerts since they've had a couple shows there. I think the Stones, but one of the most recent was Floyd when you were there.
Yes. And I heard David Gilmour might be doing another tour in 2026, a final farewell tour. I don't know if that's true or not.
Do you think he can tour as Pink Floyd without Roger Waters, or does he have to be David Gilmour? How do you feel about that?
No, he is there. Roger Waters lost all that lawsuits. He left the band. It's still Pink Floyd without him.
Okay. Who's more crucial to the Pink Floyd, in your opinion?
Oh, David Gilmour by a long shot. Okay. By a long shot. I mean, yeah, I think. I mean, there's, Waters is pretty dark.
Yeah. He seems to be that tortured artist with the lyrics and the, opinions about the world.
Right. I mean, I guess Gilmour it's all about the guitar, right?
Yeah. But this spacey psychedelic thing, that doesn't exist without Gilmour. I mean, you'd think he's the first person to ever put some reverb on his guitar.
Oh. One thing I'm doing sports-wise is I'm watching some WNBA.
Really?
I'm watching Caitlin Clark and these other girls play. It's fun to watch.
They're fun. It's good basketball. I'm not going to say that it's my favorite thing and that I don't miss a game, but if I got nothing going on and there's a game on TV, I'll throw it on. Absolutely. Which is a big deal. Just that step in and of itself is a significant step for the league.
Right. I think so too. Well, Grant, you have a great weekend. I kind of been missing your show lately because I've been working late,
That's okay.
So,
someone's got to bring home the bacon, Eric.
Somebody's got to bring home the bacon. You have a great weekend, Grant.
You as well, Eric. Eric on I-90. Enjoy your Floyd Friday. We'll enjoy a little bit of Fins Up Friday, our final segment coming up next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Not only going out to Wisconsin and the great Midwest, we're going around the world tonight, Parrot Head.
Last couple minutes, fins up. It's Friday here on the Wisco Sports Show. Brewers Rockies tonight. Look, we'll watch. We'll be entertained. The Brewers need to win 2 or 3. Do you really want me to sit here for the final 2 minutes and be like, now, this is a trap series. The Brewers can't just sleepwalk into this series. The Rockies been playing better late, even though the Dodgers gave them the business. But this is baseball, folks. It's a weird sport. Just because one team's better than the other, we all get all that. We all understand that. Brewers got to continue to win, and they got to stack wins this week because 2 of their final 4 opponents in the first half are the Dodgers and the Mets, and the other 2 teams are the Marlins and maybe the Nationals. I think they closed the first half with the Nationals. But after this weekend against the Rockies, they're going to have 4 series, and 2 of them are against 2 of the better, more talented, bigger spending teams in baseball. So again, not just in baseball and all sports as a whole, you have to stack as many wins as you can when you're playing well or when you're playing poor opponents, and then you just need to weather the storm when the team, kind of goes cold, the offense can't find the hits, the pitchers can't find you just need to weather the storm. Try to win 1 of 3 instead of getting swept. Try to salvage a series when you can. Try to split a 4-game series instead of losing 3 or 4. Just hold your water the best you can, and the Brewers might be in that place in the final 4 series, the final 3 weeks of the first half. Or maybe they continue to play lights out and they finish the first half strong and they show well against the Dodgers and the Mets. That would certainly be preferable. I'm just saying over the course of 162, you're going to have good stretches, bad stretches. You want to prolong the good stretches as long as you can and stack as many wins as you can. And don't apologize. When you're playing out over your skis and when you're playing at a level that maybe is unsustainable, don't apologize. Bank those wins. It's like a salesperson. When you're having a good sales year and you're like, yeah, I'm working hard here, but really it's economic factors and it's this, it doesn't matter. Don't apologize. Stack as much money as you can because, next year or the year after, you're still going to be busting your butt as a salesperson. But, guess what? The economy might not be in your favor, right? Your certain clients maybe aren't, and it's nothing that you're doing wrong. It's the same in sports. When you're playing out over your skis and you're white hot, stack as many wins as you can and don't apologize because you're going to need those wins because at some point the worm is going to turn the other way, right? So just things to remember with the Colorado Rockies in town. I'm ready for the weekend. I sure as heck love hosting the show. It's an awesome job, and it's fun to take a lot of calls tonight. I am ready for 2 days, so I'm excited to be back on Monday at 4. We can react to Brewers Rockies then, and anything that maybe has taken place. Shams tells me that Giannis's future with the Bucks is not tied to the draft or even free agency, so maybe it's tied to something this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you Monday at 4.
What can we say? Thank you all very much. You sure make a boy from Mississippi feel right at home in Wisconsin. Thank you all.